He's a good man. He is not a racist, I can tell you that. He's a good person.
And we're going to do a lot of trade with Britain. It's going to be great trade and huge trade. We're going to be selling, like, things. Nobody ever saw such trade. It's going to be tremendous and huge. Hey, remember that woman who broke her wrist in the car with the car crash with the Duke of Edinburgh? Or, as they say in that fair town, the Chooky Embra? And you recall that the Crown Prosecution Service was going to look into whether the Duke was going to be prosecuted?
Yes.
Would you be entirely surprised that they have reviewed all of the relevant data and decided that, on balance, he is a member of the royal family, so no prosecution will be taking place?
No.
Not surprised at all. Emma Fairweather, 46, was with another... Why do the press always tell us how old, particularly women, are? What's that got to do with it? She's 46 years old. She was with another woman and a 9-month-old baby. Oh, little baby. And fortunately the baby was okay, but Emma Fairweather, wasn't. She hurt her wrist. Her wrist hurt.
Stop whining.
That's because she collided with this giant Land Rover Freelander, which is being driven by the Chooky Embra, who is 97 years old. And you too could live to such a ripe old age if you too had an army of serfs to do your every bidding, had £500 million in the bank, free access to the best private medicine that science has to offer, and you don't need to ever go to work. Of course, Philip escaped the crash without injury. Though the woman involved in the crash required hospital treatment for her injuries, the baby escaped unhurt. And at the time, the Chooky Embra claimed that he was dazzled by the sun in the moments prior to the collision. But Miss Fairweather claimed that it was overcast at the time, which probably means that it always shines on you if you are a member of the royal family, or one of them is a misinformation disseminator.
Liar!
And the chief Crown prosecutor for the area confirmed that the Duke will not be pursued by the police, as a prosecution is not in the public interest. Yeah, but it's what the public are interested in. Not in the public interest. I mean, I assume that was meant as a joke. Ms. Fairweather told the Mirror, "I don't know if everyone would have been treated that way. It's not a shock, really. I think he surrendered his licence last weekend to avoid prosecution. He will have been heavily advised. The whole thing feels managed and controlled." Well, let's just clear a few of those points up. Everyone would not have been treated that way. Yes, it isn't a shock. It wouldn't have mattered whether he surrendered his licence or not as to whether he'd have been prosecuted. And the whole thing, as with everything with the Windsors, is always managed and controlled. Completely correct in every respect. The Chief Crown Prosecutor for CPS East of England, Chris, said, "The CPS has carefully reviewed material submitted by the police in relation to the traffic collision on the A149 on the 17th of January this year." I don't know why he talks like this. Maybe he used to be a police person. He said, "We took into account all of these circumstances in this case, including the level of culpability, the age of the driver, and the surrender of the driving licence. We have decided that it would not be in the public interest to prosecute. All those involved in the collision have been informed and provided with a full explanation in writing, which says, and I quote, 'Don't question us, peasant.' The decision was made after considering all of the evidence submitted by the police and in accordance with a 2-stage test in the Code for Crown Prosecutors." And you remember the police at the time gave the Duke a sight test. They used their sight to detect that he was in fact a Duke and sent him on his way. A Buckingham Palace spokesman said, I didn't know I was going to do that. But this is exactly what they said. They said, "The Duke of Edinburgh respects the decision taken by the Crown Prosecution Service, as one would expect of His Majesty." And despite no longer having his licence, he's still going to be allowed to drive on the grounds of the numerous royal estates and on private land, is the Duke. And that's quite right, because then he might only hit a servant. 0345 6060 973. Well, that's a great weight off my shoulders, because I thought he was going down for that. Meanwhile, the kids are revolting. Students in the UK have been swarming here, there and everywhere, baby, demanding that the government take immediate action on the climate emergency. That's what they're calling it. It's not climate change anymore. It's not a little local difficulties. It's an emergency.
Warning! Warning!
And they want the government to take active steps to tackle the problem. So they don't know us very well, do they? Because for the government to take action, that would mean asking us lot if we want them to. And we do in theory, but not in practice. It would mean politicians writing their proposals up and asking us to vote for them. But as we would like something to be done, but we don't want anything to be done that affects us in any way, nothing will ever get done. It's like Monsieur Macron, who is the current leader of France. He tried to do something about it by raising taxes on fuel to make people use fuel less. And did they like it? No, they did not. They didn't like it a very great deal indeed. He's just trying to save the planet, that's all, and that's what he gets for it. People in yellow vests picking up paving stones and hurling them at gendarmes. We won't save the planet. We refuse to do that. The kids wanted the government to communicate the severity of the ecological crisis to the public. That's us. And reform the school curriculum to make it an educational priority. But they've got other priorities. I mean, their teachers are up to their eyeballs trying to teach things like spelling. spelling. And multiplication. I mean, come on, kids, it's not hard. 6 7s are 38, 8 8s are 62. Once learned, never forgotten. My mind's like a computer.
Correct.
And they also want recognition that young people have the biggest stake in the future. Well, of course they do. And they should be involved in policy making. Well, of course they should. And the voting age should be lowered to their 16th birthday. Of course it should. You know, if the kids could vote at 16, we wouldn't be in this Brexit mess right now. We'd be doing other things, more important things. The government wouldn't be concentrating solely on this mess. Entirely caused by old people. I'm not mentioning any names in connection with that.
I'm a nutcase.
But you know who. And these protests weren't just out of the blue. There was a United Nations report released last October warning that the unprecedented changes needed by society to keep global temperatures from rising more than 1.5 C above pre-industrial levels are going to be huge. And they should be immediate. and we read that report that said immediate action was necessary, and we thought, oh, right, well, somebody will do something. And we just threw it away. Warming of 2C above pre-industrial levels has widely been thought of as the threshold beyond which dangerous climate change will occur. And you know what we're at the moment? Above pre-industrial levels? 0.8C. 1.5C, big problem. 2C, huge. And we're already at 0.8, which is almost 1, maths fans. The world is well off track to keep to the 1.5 centigrade limit. We're going to have to admit to ourselves that we adults aren't going to do anything about climate change till it's too late, because it will cost us in the short term. But at least the kids will be able to say, I told you so, as they float away on a tidal wave. It won't be a clean tidal wave either. It will probably be a tidal wave of sewage.
Disgusting.
Exactly. Even with the promises that various countries have made as part of the Paris Agreement to cut greenhouse gases, as Toya used to say, the world is still set to breach the 1.5 centigrade threshold around 2040, which sounds like so far in the future it's like science fiction. Well, it's not science fiction, it's science fact. It's not sci-fi, it's sci-fi. And here's the problem. To keep temperatures from rising by more than 1.5 centigrade in the long term, countries need to cut carbon emissions by 45% by 2030. And you know when 2030 is? It's about 10 years. We ain't going to do it. We're not going to get there. We're going to stand still and expect that somebody else is going to do something about it for us. No wonder the kids are upset. Carbon emissions cut by half in 10 years. That's what we need to do. In other words, it might be already too late. But immediate action is required now. We can't say we weren't told. We were told over and over and over again. And the response by many people is, oh, well, this was told to us by experts, and we're no longer interested in the opinion of experts. And furthermore, we don't believe in science anymore because a scientist once got something wrong. I think that the human race, at its best, will just look at this and think, well, it really is awful, something should be done. And then assume that that's it, problem solved. And of course, the Paris climate agreement, which is not remotely enough to stop the inevitable from occurring, Ancient Orange won't even sign up to that. That catastrophic sack of fat in the White House at the moment, he isn't even going to go for that. Terrible deal. Nobody ever saw such a bad deal. Everybody says so, believe me. And he read that off a card given to him by his financial backers in the coal business. But he's just an extreme example of where we are now. No one wants to change their lifestyle to avert something bad in the future. We want our fun now, and to hell with the consequences. We'll be gone by the time the waves are lapping at our doors, as long as you intend to be gone in 10 years' time, because that's when 2030 is. But the kids won't be gone. They're going to have to live with it. And that's why the kids are revolting. Why they went on strike from school to protest over climate change, over the ruination of this great nation. The Youth Strike for Climate protests, which is a terrible name, by the way. I don't like that at all. And the 4 is a number 4. Youth Strike for Climate protests, 60 towns and cities across the UK, and in other countries too, here, there and everywhere, baby. And among the banners held by pupils that I can actually read out on the air, one said that global warming isn't cool, there's no planet B, when did the children become the adults, and don't burn our future. However, the buzzkills at the National Association of Head Teachers told their members not to authorise truancy and instead help the children engage with social issues in other ways, such as discussions in class or at lunchtime. But if they did that, no one would pay them the slightest heed. Which is why they were demonstrating, and now the whole world's talking about it. Now, this was written up in all of the papers, and I was reading through the reports, itching to get to the part where the adults reading it had their say at the bottom. The comment section at the bottom, which is always very instructive. And I knew what they were going to say. I just wanted to read them say it. And I'll come to that in just a minute. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
Yeah, it's a radio show, dear. 0345 6060 973. Let me just read you some of the things that some of the kids on that march were saying. Nico, 13, said that protesting about climate change was a push for a better future. It's our future, and people in our generation should be fighting for what we're going to be living through, she whined. I'm being sarcastic. Alexander, 17, said he was at the protests in Parliament Square to raise awareness for climate change and get a bit of a move on in terms of getting governments to change their ways of acting and going with a greener approach. He moaned.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
London Mayor Sadiq Khan said he understands why children feel strongly about pollution and climate change and called for politicians to take great strides to clear up the air across our country. Liberal Democrat education spokesperson and former teacher Layla Moran also backed the young people who had taken such an important and principled cause, she said. Richard Baker, chief executive of extreme-scale data intelligence firm GeoSpock, said it's inspiring to see some of our younger citizens taking action on climate change, but it shouldn't have to take school strikes for governments and policymakers to act on this public health crisis. Energy Minister Claire Perry said, I suspect if this was happening 40 years ago, I'd be out there too. Scottish Green Party education spokesperson Ross Greer urged education bosses to back their pupils. Caroline Lucas, the Brighton MP, told thousands of campaigners taking part, the time for talking is over, the time for action is now. Downing Street said the disruption to planned lesson time was damaging for pupils. Like, that's their concern. Oh, please. You know, last year, a man who spent more than 40 years caring for children, first as a children's physician and lecturer in paediatrics at Oxford, then as a professor of child health and the director of clinical research at the Great Ormond Street Hospital, and then he was appointed as the first national clinical director for children in the Department of Health, and in 2005 he became the first independent statutory children's commissioner for England, and he was knighted by the Queen for his services to children and young people in 2006. He said childhood is being ruined in the UK, and the education system under Theresa May's government is largely to blame. And last year, it was reported that the funding crisis means that some UK head teachers spend more than 50% of their time seeking charity for essential subjects. And £2.8 billion has been cut from the school budgets since 2015. Spending per pupil has declined by 8%, and capital funding has been cut by a third. But please, Prime Minister, tell us again how the children are ruining their future by taking a day off to try to protect their future. And the best-rated comment on the Daily Mail website at the time of looking was, left-wing indoctrination of young minds for all to see. Yes. Left-wing. You've got to be a left-winger now to care about the environment. Because that's a loony communist idea, that is. I swear, the entire country has divided itself into left-wing or right-wing camps. We're either the Jets or the Sharks. And particularly the right-wingers seem to just not listen to whatever the subject is. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it doesn't prevent me from having a very strong opinion, and that is, whatever the issue, I'm at the very extreme right on anything we may be talking about. People protesting at pollution and climate change are left-wing loonies now, according to anybody that doesn't describe themselves as a left-wing loony. Caring. Oh, you don't want to care. I don't know what's happened to the world. Either we've all taken a very wrong turning just recently, or this whole Brexit thing has actually revealed us for who we are. I suspect it's the latter, or maybe a combination of the two. The best-rated comment on this story of all of these children who had taken time off their valuable education in order to try and protect their future, left-wing indoctrination of young minds for all to see. As though caring for the planet is a left-wing thing. Morons. We're surrounded by morons. And the worst-rated comment? Climate change and the destruction of the environment is the most important fight of our life. Forget Brexit, forget ISIS. This determines the future of our world. So, kids, I applaud you. Don't listen to the bitter oldies. Their primary concern is themselves and themselves only. And as though to underline that fact, the oldies reading that article made it the worst-rated comment on there. Well, kids, forget it, because the oldies ain't going to do nothing, and those are the ones with all the power. You can scream and moan and whine all you like.
Stop whining.
0345 6060 973. Here, where's that lady that was having trouble with her radio?
She didn't want to go on the air about it.
Oh, right. Well, why did she call me?
She wondered if I could help sort it out.
What was the problem with her radio?
She was listening through the TV rather than the radio.
Oh, well, that's her first mistake. Yeah, couldn't hear us. Well, try turning it off and on again, dear. And don't bother us with your technical problems. We're trying to do a show here. Let's have a call in Glasgow. Hello, Scott.
Hello, Nick. I cringe every time I hear you say, we don't trust experts, we want to get rid of them. Well, it's not the case. Yeah, we do want experts. What we don't get is real experts, because when we get them, as in the nicotinoids, when the Tory experts, and they were experts, they advised the Tories, look, the nicotinoids are killing the bees. You know what they done? The government gagged them. And when they wouldn't shut up about the truth, because experts know the truth, but when they wouldn't shut up, they sacked them. So what basically happened was, with them experts, they were first gagged. When they wouldn't shut up telling the truth, they were then sacked. And then new, in inverted commas, experts were brought in, and those experts told everyone what the government wanted them to say, which was, oh, nicotinoids are absolutely fine. In actual fact, the bees love those nicotinoids. It's like sherbet. And they all love them, and they breed like hell once they suck them and lick them in. You know,
it sounds like the exact same scenario as the drugs issue. Every government, Professor Nutt, the unfortunately named Professor Nutt. Yeah, I mean, he was easy to dismiss, wasn't he?
My exact point is, as soon as he started talking the truth, they got rid of him, because they're not interested in experts. That's why, and I'll repeat again, but when I hear you say, oh, experts, like we all hate experts, we don't hate experts.
Scott, you do understand. Wait a minute, Scott, you do understand that I'm joking when I say that. That I am not personally saying that I don't have any truck with experts. No. You do get that, don't you?
I do get
right.
I do get
I'm parodying other people who say that.
Yes.
You understand that, right? Oh, well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah, I do get that. But what I get from what you say is that the working class folk, the pros, the working class folk, that what I gauge from you saying that is that the pros hate experts. We don't want them experts.
Well, the amount of times that I've heard it, I sit here and take opinions from people who you would ordinarily cross the street to avoid, Scott, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. And the amount of times that I've heard, experts, what do they know? Or words to that effect, I think that it is, that is part of what is happening. Everybody now gets to have their own facts. So when I say that we are no longer interested in experts, I'm just reflecting what I hear a lot of people say. And it seems to be true that now any fact that is contrary to what you have previously decided is the truth is dismissed out of hand. That's what I mean by that. And you can like it or not, Scott, but them's the facts, Jack, unless you don't want them to be. 0345 6060 973. Look, it's just past 10:30. The news headlines on LBC with Zora Sullivan.
Now came talk.
Let's see what this one's like. Lincoln. Hello, Keith.
Hello, Nick.
Keith.
I was watching the telly today. I'm 77, and I watched these kids, and I thought, they're absolutely brilliant. And they were so articulate. I mean, it just astounded me. I thought, well, if this is our future, then we're in bloody good hands, because, could you just tell me, was there any things like this in America at all? Any kids in America?
I don't know. I think kids in America are too busy shooting each other. Wait a minute. Did you get that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Now, please mind your P's and Q's, Keith. You're on the radio.
Okay. Well, with Trump, he's opening up coal mines, using coal again, and he's totally ignorant. And I was listening to these kids, I thought, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. and I thought you got a guy like Trump, totally ignorant, totally in denial about it all. And I thought, these kids have got an hard road ahead of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think when they get to our age, well, your age, my age, when they grow up, they'll probably be infected with the same kind of selfish disease that we got. I think it comes with age, because you start out life being all starry-eyed and open-faced to the world, and then as time wears you down, you become more closed in and closed off from the world. Ain't that true, Keith?
Well, to a certain degree. I remember you saying very often when I listen to you, Nick, no one's listening. And, that's partly true. But these kids, they just so impress me, man. I must be honest. They really impress me.
What you mean by no one's listening is not no one's listening to this super show. You mean no one is listening to each other. We're all on send. That's what you meant, yeah.
Yes. Including this government, of course.
Oh, yeah. Well, naturally.
But I was astounded. I mean, I said that I'm 77.
That's twice you got that in, Keith.
But they were so articulate. And there was, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. And does it prove to me that they're being well educated, or are they, I don't know. You hear about all these terrible crimes and teenagers, but these kids, they were brilliant.
Yeah, none of them, I don't think a single one of them stabbed another the whole day. Well done, kids. All right, thanks a lot, Keith. 0345 6060 973. I don't know whether any of there were any marches in America. I think it comes with education.
I love the poorly educated.
He loves the poorly educated. I still can't get over that. I mean, I know I mentioned it a lot, but he was standing on a stage in front of a bunch of knuckle-dragging mouth breathers, and he said to them, "I love the poorly educated," and they whooped and cheered. Let's have Catford. Hello, Steve.
Oh, hello, Nick. Yes, oh, blimey, you've just made me, I've just turned something off, but I'm okay now.
I've made you a natural woman. Is that what you were going to say?
Yes, not quite. Well, firstly, global warming and the children, the kids out on the streets.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, I absolutely know. I drove down to Cornwall quite recently, and I know we're a similar vintage. Now, if I'd have driven down to Cornwall 30 years ago, my windscreen would be, whether or not this is global warming, by the way, I don't know, it could be another issue, but my windscreen, I would have had to scrape all the dead insects off of it.
Yeah, about 63 pounds worth of dead insects would be stuck to the front of your car.
Now, it's really starting to, I mean...
Well, but let's be honest, Steve, if you're on the motorway, you actually have to swerve to strike an insect. I frequently cross lanes.
It's really, really unsettling, and I think, my goodness, these people, these experts, these people that come on and I don't know, they say these things, and I think, no, it can't be true, but it is true. And
well, yeah, if we're looking, it's something like 70% of the insects in the country have disappeared since the 70s, which speaks of exactly what you just described. And I've mentioned this many times. It used to be that if you just travelled 100 miles, you'd have to get a blowtorch out and scrape the insects off the front of your car. It was awful. You can travel the length and breadth of the country now. You won't hit one single one. Why? Because they aren't there anymore. We've decimated the insect population. And when the insects go, we go too.
We do, and that really worries me. And it's something when I went to the Reading Festival in 1979 in my Hillman Imp that broke down twice on the way.
Well, that sounds like a Hillman Imp, yeah.
Again, the windscreen was absolutely you couldn't barely see through it. I remember this. There were three of us going.
This wasn't just the drugs talking.
Want to score some pot?
It was actual insects. You weren't seeing something. They were really there. Who played in 1979, by the way?
Well, Hawkwind.
Hawkwind. Yeah.
I know. And Dr. Feelgood.
Dr. Feelgood.
Rock and roll!
Well, it doesn't get better than that.
No, they were magnificent, and I instantly bought to Down by the Jetty and two of their albums.
Yeah.
But,
well, I think their live album is one of the best live albums ever. The Stupidity album by Dr. Feelgood is superb.
Yeah, it's just what you need. There's no frills whatsoever.
Exactly, yeah. Heads down, no nonsense, mindless boogie. Just what you want.
Hang your head on the wall. Yeah, it is. And as for the royal family, well, obviously they're ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but can I, Stephen Fry, you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be really clever.
Well, he's on TV and everything, yeah.
He is, and and he sounds really, really nice. But he said something about monarchies, and the point he was making was that all monarchies, all the Scandi countries, Denmark and Holland and Finland and Norway and all those places.
Other Scandi countries are available, yes.
Yes, they are. Well, they tend to be very social and progressive and quite liberal.
Yeah, and with the consequence that they have a happier populace.
Yeah, but they're monarchies, all of them. And
yeah, but not like ours. They're bicycling monarchies. They don't go in for all that folderol that we do, just chucking money at the royal family. They've got £500 million in the bank, and we can't throw enough money at them.
I know. I do agree with you intellectually, if that's not too big a word.
Wow, that's the first time anybody has ever used that word in my context.
I'm not sure. I mean, one question I'd like to...
No, wait a minute. Are you suggesting that those countries are full to the brim with happy people because they are monarchies?
No. This was Stephen Fry's point about monarchy.
Right.
Was that it tends to be that countries that have monarchies, even ours, we're quite...
Are happier people. Well, what rubbish. That's completely untrue. Yeah. I refer you to Thailand, for instance.
I've never been to Thailand.
Oh well, then
that's a monarchy, and Burma, I suppose.
Thailand, it's hot and wet like a wrestler's jockstrap. It is awful over there. I'm never going there again. Just terrible. And there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to see. There's no museums or galleries or anything like that. It's just hot. That's all it is. It's just hot and wet. Why would anybody go there on holiday? Why would you fly over Italy to go there? It's a mystery. Do you fly over Italy to go there? No, I don't think you do.
Probably not. No.
Right. Don't fly over anywhere to go. I wouldn't fly over Blackpool to go there again.
Yeah, and Prince Philip was a silly old fool.
He's a rude old man who's never been corrected.
No. But I don't think he should have been prosecuted. I think.
Don't worry, he was never going to get prosecuted.
No, of course he wasn't.
I'm not saying it's one rule for them and another rule for us, but it is one rule for them and another for us.
It can be, yeah. Prince Andrew, where are you? But I think.
Where is he? He's in a military helicopter going to the Gulf, probably.
Yeah, I know they're ridiculous, Nick. But
it sounds like there's a but coming. What's the but, though?
The but is that they've been with me all my life.
Oh.
And I can't see beyond it. I mean, people always say...
it wouldn't make any difference. It would make no difference whether they were there or not. And it certainly wouldn't make any difference to us lot if we were paying for them. They can pay plenty for themselves. They're one of the richest families that have ever existed, and we're giving them hundreds of millions of pounds a year that we haven't got. But let's not get dragged down into that.
No, okay, I'm with you. I'm just trying to ease my soul in public, because they
You are gripped with patriotic fervour. I understand. Well, yeah, stand erect to this. You're welcome. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Let me just remind you, I have a new podcast which is out. There's a brand new one. Just hit the worldwide weight today. It's got cats in it. I think you'll find it a delight. And you can find it in our Global Player app. And where they give away excellent podcasts. You find it here, there and everywhere, baby. If you follow me on Twitter and Facebook, I will point you in the right direction. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
It's my huge honour to...
With Nick Abbott.
This guy is sick. There's something wrong with this guy.
Thanks, Donny. You're the best. You're the best, worst president ever. Now, we just put a video of an incident that happened during the climate change protest today, and the tagline that we've given it is, "This is the dramatic moment, a gas guzzling." I don't know, is that accurate? A motorbike? Can a motorbike be gas guzzling? Well, I suppose it runs on petrol, but does it guzzle? Well, not if it's a Harley. Not if it's not a Harley, I should have said. Stupid idiot. We'll edit that out. Anyway, it says, "This is the dramatic moment a gas-guzzling motorbike tried to drive through the climate change protest." And we just happen to have that motorcyclist on the line. Matt.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. So, what's your story?
Firstly, I'd like to sort of approach what you just said about gas guzzling. The problem I have mainly is with the article and with the video that was presented on your website and on your Facebook and on your Twitter and everything. Firstly, gas guzzling is wrong. You know, motorcycles are more economical, but that's not the argument. I don't really want to get onto the side of environmental issues and things like that. I agree with what the protest was about, fundamentally. What I disagree with was how they went about it. Now, I was informed by the police officer at the time that they weren't aware that it would be such a big thing, that hence the lack of police. There was 3 maybe police officers in Parliament Square at the time. I was the one, not the crowd, who called the police over to help me. Unlike what it says in your article, they did not call the police over. They were shouting for the police. So I actually called one of the police officers over, who was an officer. I called him Sir, as you hear in the video, and asked him to come over. As I asked him to come over, the woman who had punched me and tried to pull me off my bike previously ran away, which was just a bit of a shock, funnily enough.
She tried to... Now, because that wasn't on the video, was it?
Yes, exactly. So your video only shows part of what actually happened.
All right.
I've been waiting the other side of this so-called demonstration for 20-odd minutes. The road was not closed. There was other vehicles waiting as well. The road was not closed. It was hot. It was horrible. I decided, not a problem. I'll go out the middle and... You know, I'll approach, and if people move out of the way, I'll ride through. That's not a problem. If they don't, well, I'll just wait. I rode up, people moved out of the way, not a problem. I made sure my bike was on so that I could be heard. My feet were on the floor, and I walked the bike while sitting on it through the protest. Towards the end is where while that happened, 90% of people, yeah, they moved out of the way. That was great. We had the odd person who was trying to pull me off the bike, kicking me, punching me. Obviously, the jeering and booing, I can deal with that. I'm a big guy. That's not a problem. What then happened was the man stood in front of me with the camera, and that's where your video kicks in.
Right.
So there is a lot more that happened there, and your video and your article paints me in a light, whereas I'm a hooligan. I'm a horrible person. I should be hung up by my toes.
Well, shall I just, for the benefit of the people who haven't seen it, shall I read it?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
All right. It says, thousands of children have been permitted to take day off school to attend the demonstration. LBC's reporter...
Permitted is obviously loose.
Eh?
But yeah.
Permitted?
Permitted is obviously loose.
Well, I think it was...
Permitted, but...
Well, it depended on the head teacher involved. I think they were given the ability to decide one way or the other. But let's not get bogged down in that.
Yeah.
LBC's reporter Rachel Venables was on hand when things started to get a little tense as a motorbike tried to drive past Parliament. A protester stood in front of his vehicle and refused to let him pass, before eventually standing aside as the motorbike brushed past him and another woman. And the brushed past part, that's on the video, right?
It is, yeah.
Right, well, nobody got hurt there, did they? I mean...
No, of course they didn't. The woman that I brushed past, and then on the video, you can hear her say it, that she texted, that she was texting as was her excuse. She was the one who ran away because she was one of the people trying to pull me off my bike, physically grabbed me and pulled me off. She was the reason I stopped, because I thought, I need to get the police involved here before this escalates too far.
Okay, the article goes, the crowd then calls the police over, and but that's not actually true. You did the calling, right? Then the motorcyclist can be heard telling the officer, he's going to jail, he's asterisked out word, trying to turn people's bikes off. So somebody tried to turn your bike off?
So that sentence was misheard. I didn't say he's going to jail, he is. I can't remember what I said, but those words weren't said. What I did say, he is trying to turn people's asterisks bikes off, and yes, they were trying to turn my bike off. Obviously, these people don't know motorbikes. My bike is keyless. A lot of them were looking for keys and trying to take keys, because normally on a motorbike, the ignition switch is in the middle of the handlebar.
Right.
My bike's keyless. My keys were in my pocket, thank God.
So this
there was a man at the end of the video leaning over. Yeah. You can see him because he accidentally presses the horn, trying to switch the bike off. Even after the police had instructed me to move the bike, and the police had to come back after they left me, which might add, which is crazy. The fact they just left me in the middle of a mob.
Well, when you say mob, I mean you weren't in any physical danger, were you?
I'm sorry, Nick, but it was an angry mob at this point.
Okay.
I was surrounded. I was being pushed around. My bike was being touched and was being manhandled. The threat of violence is there. Now, personally, I felt safe. I'm a big guy. I can handle myself if the need arises. Okay.
Well, not if a mob turns on you. You can't. I mean,
of course. I was more worried about my bike, if I'm honest. It's a very expensive bike. I've worked very, very hard to be able to afford that. I pay my tax. I pay my road tax, I pay my insurance, I pay my fuel, I pay my MOT and everything. You know, I have more of a right to be on the road than those people that were sitting on the road.
Yeah, well, perhaps. I mean, I don't think paying tax... no, hang on a minute. I don't think paying taxes... I'm mostly on your side, but I don't think that paying tax gives you any further rights to be on the road than somebody who pays less or not at all.
Does it not?
No, and it doesn't. The article ends, things started to get very tense as the youngsters started booing the motorcyclist and the police officer tried to deal with the incident. So what did the police do?
So the police came over as I asked him, and I told him what happened, and then the guy with the camera started getting involved and getting in the way. He got sent to the side of the road so the police could look at his footage. They weren't interested in the footage that I had on my GoPro, which was mounted to my handlebars, which people were trying to take as well. They weren't interested in really what I had to say. They pulled me over to the side of the road. Eventually, after another sort of couple of minutes, I got to the side of the road, and I was the one being checked. I was the one having VIN checks and VRN checks done on me. Nothing was said to the protesters. And it wasn't until another police officer of a junior rank came over and said, "Sir, I'm sorry, but this young man was, riding safely. He did everything he could to make sure he didn't hit anyone. He did the right thing. He was attacked." So actually, I thank that police officer, whoever he was. I really hope he's listening in, for sort of standing up for me, because I felt like he was the only person in the whole situation.
Okay, and is there you're on, so is there anything else that you would like to say about what happened today, or about our coverage of it, or anything? Go ahead.
Personally, coverage isn't great. It paints me in a bad light. It paints motorcyclists as a whole in a bad light.
Well, that's not true. I mean, apart from the gas guzzling motorcycle part, but
which
then
is factually incorrect.
Well, it depends what you mean by guzzling. I mean, it does take gas in the American American words for the petrol.
Yeah.
So I suppose it does, but it depends what guzzling means. But let's not get bogged down in that. It wasn't an attack on motorcyclists in general. I suppose it could have been read in the way that it was an attack on people who drive vehicles that take petrol.
What was very positive about your coverage or your articles that were put on Twitter and Facebook? I don't know if you've read the comments.
No.
They are. All of the comments on Twitter, Facebook, wherever else you've posted it, are all supporting me.
Right.
And that just proves to me that actually, you know what, there are decent people. And some of these people down at Parliament Square, as much as I do support their agenda. I'm left wing. I support climate. I support the changes that need to be made for climate change. I fully agree with what they're protesting against.
But
However,
please let's not.
They go about it.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, you get that it was a useful target, a useful distraction.
Mob mentality.
Like. Well, kind of. I mean, you were there and you were.
Yeah, dude.
So some texts and emails and such about the issue of the kids on that march or the series of marches. Burgerzilla says. All those climate kids who've been indoctrinated and radicalised by left-wing teachers need to be marked as truant on their record and their parents fined with a warning that social services need to be involved. I assume you're trolling us, Burgerzilla. Back under your bridge, troll. This text says the Crown Prosecution Service fails to prosecute the Crown. Curious. That's the story about the Chuki Embra. Who could have predicted that they wouldn't prosecute him? It's incredible. Paul in Oxford says, if he had been called Delroy from South London instead of Philip from Windsor, would he still have got off all the charges? Well, let's think about that.
No.
Of course not. This text says he's allowed to drive on private land. Isn't that the whole of the UK? Yeah, and it's seabed. Also the seabed. He's going down. This one says, I'm a demonic polluting car driver and as a result a destroyer of worlds. I've had accidents and never been prosecuted. They were accidents. Well, says you. Yeah, I've never had an accident in my life. I've seen hundreds in my rearview mirror. Let's have a call in Archway. Hello, Terry.
Hi, Nick. Hi. I think it's really admirable that the young teens are worried about the future of the planet. It's certainly very different from the things I had to worry about when I was a teen, when I myself was the future. But now I'm at the other end of the piece of string.
Yeah.
I look at what's going on, and I do feel
you're the past.
I do feel a great despair. The junk in, junk out golden rule of mathematics and science has never changed, and I can't help feeling that these kids are being misguided by the Greens, by the Friends of the Earth, and by their teachers who look at the grand statesmen of the universities, from the Imperial Colleges and from the Oxford Emeritus Professors, and they're lied to, they're cheated
about what?
At every turn. I think they've got so much on their plate.
But what are they being lied to about?
I think they're being focused on the wrong things. It's like they're
what though? Are you talking about climate change? Are you talking they've been indoctrinated about climate change, or are you talking about something else? Because it sounds as though you're talking about something else, but you don't want to say it. Say it.
I'm talking about geoengineering. I'm talking about the horrendous lies to do with nuclear, to do with the way that the nuclear power plants across the planet, especially the old ones, not necessarily the future ones, but the old ones, are leaving them with an unpenetrable problem. Russia has just stepped up.
But what's that got to do with schools?
Well, for a start, if you look at the nuclear industry, if you look at the Japanese problem, if you look at the pressures for them to try and perform economically, and the way that that's transferred into spreading Fukushima food across the planet like it's okay. They're eating it at school.
But they're eating. Wait a minute. They're eating Fukushima food at schools.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm at the other end of the piece of string, and I'm not scared of saying companies in North London are stocking this food and distributing it across food hubs that supply schools. This is wrong. They need to look up at the sky. They need to look at all these little shapes, these X's, these curlicues, these long chemtrails, and they need to ask their teachers what the hell is going on.
Oh,
they
God,
do.
you're not one of these chemtrail people, are you?
I just go outside and look up into the beautiful sky, Nick.
Yes,
I look up into
and
that
instead
sky.
of little fluffy clouds, you see death raining down upon us.
I don't know about that. It's not an instant. It's not cyanide, is it? But whatever it is, I mean...
Well,
so
what?
Far,
Okay, every now and again, one of you chemtrail people will call up, and I try and engage. So let me try it one more time. Who is doing this? For the benefit of those who don't read the darker recesses of Facebook, the chemtrail people think that the jets that fly high in the sky that leave a trail behind them are actually being paid by the government to put chemicals in the air for what purpose?
Well, the only people I know who have called it out are two people, Prince and Putin. These are the only two people who have called it out. Prince, the rock star, mentioned it, and Putin, the Russian oligarchy nutcases, according to everyone.
And Prince is dead now, so, I mean, coincidence?
Oh, let's not joke about him. He was a very, very talented guy. But, you know, he did go on, he did say that there seemed to be an uptick in violence in the communities, and he's noticed that there's a problem in the clouds, and what is
chemtrails.
it?
Well, why would governments, because presumably it's all the governments on Earth who are colluding with each other in order to spread chemicals throughout the air, yes? Is that true? Terry?
Well, if I
just yes or no, and then I'll carry on.
It would appear to be that there is a scientific will.
So governments around the world are colluding in secret to spread chemicals throughout the skies in order to make us more violent. Because the last time I talked to one of you people, it was to make us less violent, and I thought, well, it's not working, is it?
Well, even if you pretend that they're spraying vitamin C and vitamin B and turmeric, let's just look at the other problem, the oceans, where we concentrate.
Well, hang on a minute. We haven't dealt with the sky yet. Let's leave the oceans alone just for a minute.
I want these children to be healthy, and I want them to be able to ask anything of these experts and to get an honest cross-selection of answers, and you will not get anything but denial.
But that's because it's not. But that's because it's not true.
You know, Sadiq Khan comes out, and we've all got to pay all this money, and everyone's got chest respiratory infections and everything. But he will not stand on the steps of the town hall, look up in the sky, and say that's wrong.
But because it isn't.
But you don't know.
I do know. There's no such thing as chemtrails being organised by some shady bunch of suited individuals who meet in a hollowed-out volcano, Terry. I mean, you've got to be kidding.
I wish there wasn't.
Well, there isn't, so your wish has come true. There you are, you see. Like magic. The power of this show. He wished, and it came true. You're welcome. Chemtrails. Ugh. We're never going to get anywhere because people keep getting sidetracked with all this nonsense. When I hear people going on about chemtrails, all I hear is... I mean, really? The tinfoil hat people. I mean, he sounded bright enough, but... but... I didn't... I hesitate to ask what he was going to talk about the oceans. How the governments of the world are secretly planning to do what to them? Oh, I've got no idea. Make them wetter? Why would they be pumping poison into the air? And you ask these chemtrail people and they'll say, well, this is the first time I've heard it to make us more violent. Why would they want to do that? Usually they say it's to make us less violent. And you just look around and you think, well, maybe they need to pump some more. Or it's to affect the weather in some evil way. Well, and you think, well, why would they want to affect the weather unless it was to protect us from climate change? And if they were doing that, then isn't that a good thing? But you can't get any sense out of them, so why even bother? But I do appreciate the call. Thanks very much. Wish you all the best. Just don't breathe in. That's my best advice to you. You can breathe out, but don't breathe in. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC.
Hope or retard.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Yes, it's about an evil organisation who is planning to ruin the world, or to save it. We really don't know. But we should be very, very concerned about it. Craig says, please can people stop saying road tax? There's no such thing. It was abolished in the 1930s. Motorists don't have more right to use the roads than anybody else because of an imaginary tax that they think they're paying. Joe says, not only do we not get a smothering of insects on our windscreens, we also don't see squashed hedgehogs anymore. Just saying. Madge says, we are the second Black Death plague of the Earth and we will kill off the planet. And we don't care. Dosh is our new god and there is no planet B. And Chris says, as much as I do support these children and their aims, I do not support their methods. School time must be respected, and rules must mean rules. 0345 6060 973. Banstead, hello, Richard.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. I haven't got any string. Is there a Barbie trail, by the way?
A Barbie trail?
I heard Ken trail.
Oh, right. Listeners with material. Oh.
Oh, no. Okay. That was shocking. Okay. Anyway, listen, this thing with the kids with the saving the planet, all good. I think that's great. But sure, we're a leading nation in technology and stuff. Is there no way we can turn, well, allegedly, is there no way we
technology
can...
and stuff?
Well, yeah, you know, like advancing and whatever.
Oh, all that
is there
stuff.
No way that, yeah, is there no way we can turn Greg's vegan sausage rolls into fuel?
I haven't tried Greg's vegan sausage rolls, but I could probably turn them into methane.
Well,
I'm sure they're excellent in every regard. Leave them with me.
That's an interesting thought. Also, the other one, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Is there any way that we can get him on a start in a reasonably priced car on Top Gear?
Yeah, also, leave it with me. I think you're thinking about this way too much, Richard. 0345 6060 973. Tony says, when I was up in the north of England earlier, the weather report on the radio gave a yellow snow warning. What? How very public-spirited, although I thought one hardly needs to be warned about yellow snow. Oh, my God, not more listeners with material. I make that same lame joke every time there's a yellow weather warning with snow. Every single time.
Warning, warning.
Bill says the Duke of Edinburgh is an important senior member of our royal family. His life is filled with matters relating to the state. What does that mean? Taking up any more of his valuable time over a minor road collision would not prove itself useful. Bill sounds like a cap doffer. Are you a cap doffer, Bill, or a hem sniffer? Let's have, who's been waiting the longest? Cannock, Mel.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I'm all right as well.
I didn't
I've got a question that goes on about that trails in the sky, you know. He'll call me outside sometimes. He says he's trying to convince me. I don't know what he's trying to convince me
Just back away slowly. Just nod and smile. Don't make any sudden movements. Just back away slowly.
That's all I do. I just say to his wife, I think we need to book a care home. But like I said, I thought the kids were great, apart from most of them probably just wanted a day off school.
No, I don't think that's true. I'm sure that it was exciting and all, but then that's true with every march or protest of any kind. There is a little element of excitement there, because you're taking over a public space where you're not ordinarily allowed to roam, like the middle of the road, for instance.
Yeah. But my point was, I was going to say, was that this country could go carbon neutral tomorrow.
No,
and
it couldn't.
It wouldn't make a blind bit of difference.
Oh.
Because unless you get India, China, Russia and America to do the same, it won't make any difference. And it might help if they stop chopping trees down. But, no.
But Mel, that argument just means that nobody will ever do anything to improve our lives in any way, because some people will always be working in the opposite direction. There's got to be somebody who's first. Why not us?
Well, yeah, you could look at it in that way, that perhaps we should set an example, if you want to look at it that way.
There you go.
It costs everyone more money.
Well, see, that's the problem. That's why nothing will ever get done, is because although we say we would like a cleaner environment and we would like less pollution in the air and we would like cleaner energy and all the rest of it, we don't actually want to pay for it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I am right.
But it's like the young kids. I mean, I watched them on the telly doing the interview, and they're saying, we keep saying these things, and these MPs, they don't listen to us.
And the reason is...
we're young ones, so they don't listen to us either.
Well, no, the reason is the MPs listen to us adults who vote, and they know that if they propose cleaning up the environment, just like Macron did in France, trying to make an effort to force people to use less petrol, because they're not going to do it off their own bats any more than car manufacturers are going to make more efficient engines off their own bats, so that you force them to do it, which is why your car now can do 50 miles to the gallon, where before it did 5. The manufacturers weren't going to go out of their way to do that. They were forced to do it.
Well, I'm not sure if it's an anti-polluting car, because it come from Germany, mine did. So,
it came from Germany. Well, if it came from Germany, please disregard everything they said about the pollution qualities of their car.
Yeah, but my car's from Germany, so. But I admire the kids for doing it, But I just think unless we're going to just try and set an example, which all these large countries are going to take absolutely no notice of, we're wasting our time. I personally think
that's completely untrue. We're not wasting our time to make the air in this country cleaner. That's the opposite of true.
In cities like London, it's pretty bad there.
And you know what? The mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, is doing something about it. He is actually really affecting a change that is going to upset a lot of people. And I think it's on April the 8th. Anybody with an old car that's not run on batteries is going to have to pay £12.50 just to drive into town. And it's going to be 24 hours a day, and it's going to be 7 days a week. And there's going to be a huge number of people who could vote for him next time around, or if he isn't going to stand and vote for his party, who are going to be sore upset. So he's sticking his neck out, and he's doing something quite radical, really. Yeah. I don't know of any other town on earth that has taken such a move. There may be. He may be just copying somebody else. Probably one of the Scandinavian countries. Always so perfect. But he's really taking a political risk, a huge one. You'd think that practically... I mean, it's going to affect me. I'm going to have to park outside the zone and then take the train in.
Yeah,
thanks a lot, Sadiq Khan.
It wasn't. That city was not made for that many people. It never was. I mean, everything's sort of crunched together, isn't it?
What, London?
We've got wide open spaces here. I live by the Cannock Chase, so yeah, it's pretty good up here. So, and I have been to London, and you can half tell the difference. I tell you.
Yeah, that's right.
So I sympathise, but. Not much I can do
but not very much. No, I understand.
No, not really.
All right. Thanks for your little bit of sympathy, Mel. Appreciate it. Chris says, as much as I do... Oh, no, I read that one. Tim in Croydon says, shout out to Terry with his chemtrail theories. Nice try. Yes, they are chemtrails, but only the chemicals from the fuel that planes release. Planes carry more fuel than needed in case of emergencies and must drop the excess fuel before landing, otherwise they'd be too heavy to land. And as for the chemtrails, planes at high altitude release fuel like cars, and the fuel is frozen because of the freezing temperatures, hence why we can see it in the air. Yes, Tim, but those are all facts, and no one's interested in them anymore. We're all about feelings now. And people's feelings are that they are being poisoned or trained or controlled or some other ridiculous theory like that. I mean, really. I mean, apart from anything else, you really think that all of the governments on Earth are secretly colluding on this one issue and one issue alone? or if some governments are left out, don't you think that they'd be looking up at the sky thinking, hey, you know what, what's all that? I'll call up Theresa May and see what she says. I mean, it's the same as the people who say that, oh, we didn't actually land on the moon, and if you look really closely in the photograph, you can see that there's a shadow going the wrong way. Like, all of those people that had something to do with the moon landing have all been sticking to the same story ever since, and not one single person has actually broken rank. Really? I mean, is that actually what you believe? God. I mean, the internet, I think, is at fault here. I mean, we do like the puppy dog videos. They're cute. We like those, but everything else, not so sure. Thanks a lot, Tim Berners-Lee. Look at what you've done. This text says, I bet those kids protesting today still get their parents to drive them to and from school and their friends' houses like my teenage daughter does. Hashtag, just saying, hashtag mum's taxi. I know it's easy to poo-poo them, and people did all day long. But if it's now such that you can't have an opinion on something that's caring if you have once done something in your life that is not totally caring, then we're never going to get anywhere as a human. We all might as well all just give up now. Might as well all just go feral. What's the point in having laws? Because they were made by people who have, at one point, broken a law. We all have. What law have you broken lately?
No comment.
All of them. Richard says, is this chemtrail guy like the people who believe the world is flat? I saw an interview with the three of these people. It was outrageous. Yeah, but totally believable. They do think the world is flat. Well, there's no proof that it isn't. You know, apart from science. And nobody's remotely interested in science anymore. Because science once got something wrong. I despair. I actually saw a video of somebody explaining why the Earth was flat. And he had a plate with a watering can. And he said, here, look. And he poured assuming that the world was flat, he poured the water onto the plate, and it stayed there, as rain does. And then he tried it with a ball, and the water just went straight around the ball and then fell on the ground, as rain doesn't, thereby proving that the world is indeed flat, because the water doesn't fall off the edge. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, you're wasting your life. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC. It's 11:30, the news headlines with Zora Sullivan.
The family of a 19-year-old from London who ran...
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Sadly, this is all I've got. Andrew says it was such a lovely sunny day today, just perfect for a kid's outing, but that's down to climate change and global warming. Today's children are so ungrateful. And this text says, the Flat Earth Society has members all over the globe. Oh, God. What is this? Listeners with Material Day. Stockport. Hello, Steve.
Hi.
Steve.
Hi. For many years, I'm retired now. I was involved in education as a supply teacher. Came across many hundreds of children, mainly secondary school. And I can tell you for an absolute fact that the vast majority of those kids out on the streets today would be followers, not leaders. They were not necessarily as honed and capable in their discourse as the few that had been trained up to speak were.
Well, that's always the case in any march.
Well, it is, but my greatest concern here is that children going out of school like that, what about the one up the on top of the traffic lights there, falls down, breaks a skull, who's to blame? Or
they
the
are.
altercation with
They are. I mean, kids
They
climb
should be
up
in
stuff
school.
all the time.
No, but Nick, they should be in school. You shouldn't be allowing children. I mean, this cult of young people, which is obsessive nowadays, as if they've got some kind of innate wisdom beyond adults. But to let children, some of
Hang
them
on a
as
minute.
young
Whoa,
as
whoa.
8
Back
and
up,
9 out on the
back
street.
up. A cult of young... what?
The cult of the young people. It's often cited now as if there's some kind of innate wisdom in
Who cites
young
them?
people.
Name the person that cites
you
them.
hear it frequently.
I've
in
never
the
heard it
media.
before. Never heard it before.
Oh, there's constant reference to... But I don't want to get hung up on that. There is constant reference.
Well, there
to this.
isn't.
Well, okay.
A constant
fair enough.
reference to the wisdom of
Fair
youth.
enough. It's not my main point. My main point is this. You've got children going out unsupervised on the streets, some of them as young as 8 and 9. You don't know what's going to happen to them, who's going to pick them up, what kind of traffic
Oh, for
accidents
crying out
they'd be
loud, Steve,
involved
they
with.
should never be allowed out of the house. They're not allowed to go out of the house unsupervised. Well, how do they get to school? I mean, I used to walk to school. How about you?
Walking out of supervised schools onto the streets, you don't know not where they are, what they're getting involved with. It's foolish and it's dangerous.
Okay. Blimey. What a buzzkill. Cheer up, mate. It might never happen. Good grief. It was just a march about climate change. Crying out loud. They weren't going through Borneo. They weren't walking through Brixton at 4 o'clock in the morning on their own. Luke says, I've been hearing this climate change since when I was about 7 years old, and after 35 years I'm still hearing this same old myths. Well, you make a lot of sense, Luke. It's like these people that ring in and say, oh, no, I don't even want to mention the B word. I'm going to try the whole night to get away without saying the B word. I almost made a mistake. Oh, no. I've been hearing this climate change since I was about 7 years old, and after 35 years I'm still hearing the same old myths. They're not myths, you idiot. This isn't Project Fear, it's happening. But why bother? You're not going to get through to people until the waves are lapping at their nostrils. Mark says, I reckon HRH Prince Philip could go to the I'm a Celebrity jungle next time it's on. Paul says, Nigel, really? You really wanted me to read that? Paul says, see, I only read the things that my glamorous assistant cuts and pastes for me. Here's a handy guide if you've written in. If I read it on the air, I've read it. If I don't read it on the air, I haven't read it. Paul says, Nigel Farage said we could trade with the four corners of the world when we leave the EU, so it must be flat. And Mal says, in our reality, Earth is spherical, but if we believe in an infinite universe, then we could be, and probably are, as flat as an atom in relative terms. Wow, you've just blown my mind. Groovy. I have no idea what you're talking about. But it fits right in on this show. Bournemouth. Hello, Nathan.
Oh, hi, Nick. Love the show. Yeah, I'd just like to bring to your attention, and for the climate change kids on their march. There's an oil rig popped up off of Bournemouth Beach recently, and maybe the kids, the power to the kids. I'm so proud that they're doing this, but maybe if they channel their energy to the beaches of Bournemouth, the award-winning Blue Flag beaches, an oil rig's popped up.
How far away? A few miles, right?
A few miles off the beach. Now, Bournemouth is like the California of the South Coast.
Well, that's not true.
And it's beautiful beaches. And now I go out.
Well, when you say beautiful, aren't they covered in rocks?
No, Bournemouth is all sand.
Is it?
The rocks. Yeah, it's all sand from Hainsbury Head to Sandbanks.
How come then all of the rest of it's got rocks all over it?
No, there's no rocks. There's no rocks, Nick. We're Clift-Bayed Beach. It's a 7-mile beach. Now you have Boscombe and you have Bournemouth here. Now 2 miles out, no one's talking about it, Nick. An oil rig's popped up.
Yeah, you said that.
and Ulrich popped up, and the Bournemouth Council. I just think maybe no one's aware of it. Now, there was a protest a few weeks ago, and there's about 10 people, 100 people turned up, and all the schools around here. I'm thinking, what are the teachers teaching their kids? They're sending their kids to London from Bournemouth, 100 miles away, in their cars, yet they're not actually on the beach protesting about an oil rig, whereby if there is an oil spill, you know, it's not a good look at all.
Yeah, they'll have to get Marky Mark to make another film, and nobody wants that to happen.
No, but do you understand? Because it's a Jurassic coastline. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the area. Jurassic Coast, people from all over
I would love to have gone to... see, my holidays constitute a day out at the beach, usually.
Oh.
And Brighton is really, really close. It takes about an hour to get there, no problem at all. Wait a minute. And it costs about 15 quid to get there and back, something like that. And then I go to Eastbourne, which is a delight in every respect, because they got Beachy Head and all of that, and the Burling Gap, and it's just excellent in every regard. And that costs about £25 to get there and back. Bournemouth costs £100 to get there and back. Why does it cost so much to go to Bournemouth?
Oh, don't get me started, Nick. It's disgusting because it shouldn't cost that much. You can get a cheaper deal, but it's
no, you can't. I've tried. I want to go to Bournemouth. I've been wanting to go for years, but I can't afford to go to blooming Bournemouth. That's just embarrassing.
Nick, I promise you, if you come to Bournemouth, it's the California of the South.
Well, you keep saying that, but that is completely untrue.
It's not. It's true. Brighton's full of stones. Bournemouth is sandy beaches. It's a cliffed bay beach.
Right, okay. Brighton is full of stones and, coincidentally, full of stoners.
Want to score some pot?
That's an actual fact. Okay, Nathan, you give me a lot to think about. So there's an oil rig just off the beach in Bournemouth. Have you heard? It's going to be hosing the place down with oil. I had no idea. I like the windmills that are off the coast of Brighton and Eastbourne. They are a very, very long way out. And when they first appeared, I thought, maybe they've ruined the view. But they haven't, actually. I think they're a delight. Plus, they represent clean energy. So there's that. Stephen says, my flat earth friend said today that the film Gravity had more truth in it than anything that's come from NASA. I pointed out that the earth was round in Gravity, and he said it is, but it's like a pancake. Round like a pancake. I swear, education. That we ain't got none. I know I ain't. 0345 6060 973. Paul in Dorset. Hello, David.
Yes, hello. It's just to point out something which has come to my attention over recent months. There's an awful lot of unnecessary idling that's going on in this area, and I presume it's going across
idling
the whole of the UK.
Idling?
Yes, idling, yeah. Leaving your engine running.
Oh, that kind of idling.
Yeah, when you're sitting at the side of the road in your car looking at your phone or perhaps your laptop, and it can go on for quite a long time. Now, Paul Council's Cabinet Member for Transport is set to approve plans for its officers to begin work on introducing fines to drivers who refuse to turn off their vehicle's engines.
Well, now, when you say refuse, do you mean after being asked?
Yes.
Oh, well, then, yeah.
Yes, but there is...
They should be dragged out of their car and beaten to the floor by truncheons, and then they should be tasered while they're lying there defenceless.
Yes, well, I agree. Well, in short, there's going to be a light-touch publicity campaign to be started up. I particularly noticed it, and, all sorts of people do it, and you get all sorts of peculiar excuses for doing it.
Yeah.
The occasional bits of aggression comes out
I bet.
well. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the issue here...
It's my right. I can do what I want.
Yeah, that's right. But the point is, we have got a warming planet. And as the article in the newspaper is saying, vehicles idling while stationary use fuel unnecessarily, emit air pollutants that are dangerous to human health, create unnecessary noise, and can contaminate and contribute to global warming.
Yeah.
All this is true. And if people would stop it, we may get a little bit of significant drop in the pollution that we have to put up with.
Yeah.
The pollution around here is roughly 2/3 of what it is in the worst parts of London, like Fulham, etc. I happen to have read the local report some months ago, and so what I've just said is more or less right.
Yeah, Putney High Street apparently is one of the worst places for pollution in all of London, which makes it one of the worst places in the whole country. And you wouldn't have thought that Putney, poshest Putney, would be that polluted, but I think it's something to do with the canyon of the High Street and the fact that cars do idle up and down. They move very, very slowly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got things. We've got a road here between Poole and Bournemouth that has got 3 sets of traffic lights, all within 200 yards of one another, and that's a major issue, and that's very difficult to solve, that one. But the actual act of parking at the side of the road and leaving your engine sitting,
idling,
going on for endless minutes, is
yes.
really quite ridiculous. Now, I will point out one type of person that is particularly guilty of
van drivers.
Yeah, these are the people that internet delivery. You're absolutely on the ball.
Yes.
And I'm afraid that really this is very difficult to get to grips with. Having corresponded with the local police, they've agreed that they will write to. Yes, I have. They will write to big companies where they've got fleets of vehicles. But the people we're talking about,
the police were probably just trying to get rid of you, David.
No. They've written back to me a sensible letter, and they are going to write to the folk with big fleets of vehicles.
Yeah, they've got their eye on you.
Yeah, they won't get at the people that run the white vans, that own the vans. They are Amazon type people. They're self-employed, so they can't write to an employer for those folks.
Yeah, they aren't going to be writing to anybody. They just wanted to placate you, David.
Oh, I've got some confidence that they will take some action.
Oh, yeah, they'll drag them out of those vans and subject them to the full force of the law. Anyway, David, I've got to go, but I wish you all the best, all right, with your that whole idling issue. Look at this weather, talking about global warming. Have you ever seen anything like it? February. This is unbelievable. It was pleasantly warm today. It's going to be pleasantly warm tomorrow, and it's going to be warmer on Sunday. 15 degrees Celsius on Sunday, whatever that is in Fahrenheit. Double it and add 32. It's about 180. About 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Can you believe that?
No.
And then 13 degrees on Monday, 12 on Tuesday, 13, then 14, 15, 14, 14, 15. Holy moly, it's like summer out there. Of course, listeners in Glasgow will be getting their own weather. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
LBC at the weekend. Majid?
Please hold the line. I'm trying to connect you.
Yes, I'm trying to connect a person in Guildford called Amdras. Amdras.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell a couple of sentences about the protesting, the kids who are protesting against the global warming and everything.
Yes.
Because when I was young, I said nearly the same, to save the word. And, for example, my brother said, no, the word no need to be saved, because if the humanity gone, the word still be here. So,
yeah,
basically, we need to save ourselves to survive on this planet. And if the kids are protesting next to this, what about if they know they don't need to use PS4, Xbox, and all these things? Why the global warming is happening for the cars, for the industries, to wearing nice clothes.
Global warming is happening because of PS4s?
No, I mean the industrial revolution. We need to forget everything what the industrial revolution gave to us.
Well, we need to try to find a way to power industry that's not quite so polluting.
Yeah, but that's a dream about cold fusion and...
It's not a dream. It's possible. I mean, if we can go to a different planet, then we can certainly address this issue. And we've got the technology already that can wean us off fossil fuels. It's just that we're very, very slow in taking it up because it's going to cost us a lot of money.
Yeah, and what about if we run out of time?
Well, That's not an excuse for inaction now, that it may be too late.
Yeah, it could be.
But see, people are using that as an excuse. They're saying, oh, well, yeah, and they spent years and years and years just ignoring it and pretending that it didn't exist and it was going to go away and it's just weather and things would right themselves eventually. And all the while, the waters were lapping higher and higher. And eventually, when we start floating away, then we might think, well, maybe this is actually real and something should be done, by which time it will be too late. So let's not wait that long. Let's do something about it now.
Yeah, and what do you think? What can we do now? That's why I suggest stop everything. No more car use, no more fusion plants. Stop it, and let's see what's happening.
Well, there are some scientists that say that is the only way to actually eliminate the worst of the harm that's coming our way, is to completely change our lives now to avoid catastrophe in the future. And if that is the case, then we all better get a grip onto something firm, because we're about to experience a catastrophe.
Yeah, but that would be still a catastrophe if we stop with everything now.
Well,
because no heating in our homes.
Yeah, perhaps.
So,
but there's levels of floods, though, aren't there? I mean, there's the flood that just comes in your and ruins your carpet, but then there's the kind of flood that comes in and takes your house away.
Yeah. Finally.
I mean, you're going to get wet either way. It's just how much wet can we avoid?
Yes, and the other thing, that how could it be a kid realistic view about the world if we adults, I mean, I'm 36 now, I can say I'm an adult, but we can't see clear our situations.
No, we can see clearly, but we know that we don't want to change our lives. We don't want to stop using fossil fuels. We don't want to stop having barbecues. We don't want to stop having fires because they're nice and we like them. And we don't want to stop driving down to the shops because we'd rather do that than walk. And we don't want to stop any of these things that we entertain and delight us.
Yeah, but it sounds really bad, no?
Well, yeah.
Honestly, because
but it only sounds bad if you believe in facts and science. If you don't, then your ignorance will protect you, and that is true. Thanks a lot, Andras. Jeep says, if all the governments are secretly fiddling about with our air, where do they go to breathe? Good point. Yes, I hadn't thought about that. This is about the chemtrail people. You know, the people. Yeah, if governments are instigating an evil plan to bring us under their control or to make us more placid or more violent or whatever it is that people think is going on with chemtrails, then what about the governments themselves? I mean, they know it's up there because it's part of their little scheme. What are they breathing? Excellent point, Jeep, if that is indeed your name. Jack in Aldershot says, did you know that on a sunny day, 25% of our power is produced by solar panels, which is a grand total of 0 kilowatts in Glasgow? I bet it's going to be quite... I mean, come on, it can't be raining every day in Glasgow when the whole of the rest... Oh, no, yes it is. Raining tonight and raining tomorrow and raining on Sunday and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday. And then there's no rain for the foreseeable future. So only the next 5 days, and then it might get dry. There won't be any sun, of course, so don't worry about that. Ragwin says, much cheaper to book a train ticket to Bournemouth 1 month before you go. Yeah, but how do you know you want to go a month before you go? I don't know where I want to be tomorrow. Never mind about a month before I go. It's all dependent on the weather, Ragwin. You idiot. I'm sorry, that was an extreme reaction. But, I'm just upset about this whole Bournemouth issue. Why does it cost £100 to go to Bournemouth, for crying out loud, and it costs £25 to go to Eastbourne? Is it because the sand is more expensive? I don't get it. Years go by and I've tried to get to Bournemouth, but you just can't go because it costs too much. I mean, I could go to New York for the price of 2 people there and back to Bournemouth. It makes no sense. It's probably because of our excellent and competitive railway system, isn't it? Or something like that. It's probably due to all the competition on the rail, eh? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Respect you. There's nobody I respect more. You're going to do a fantastic job.
Thanks, Donny. You are the best. The stuff that he says. Army generals told him that his wall is more important than the things that army generals were going to spend the money on. And he doesn't want to tell us what they are, but he didn't think that those things that the army generals were going to spend their money on were that important. Because, you know, Donald Trump is a military expert. I'm totally smart. I mean, it's funny, but it's also alarming. Because I know where this is going. He hasn't managed to do a single thing in his entire presidency that he can actually boast, but it doesn't prevent him from boasting about his non-achievements. And the only thing that he's actually clinging on to now is getting this wall built. Who were these army generals you were talking to, Donny, or are they the unnamed sources that you keep railing against the mainstream media for using against you? An invasion of criminals from the south. He's just making this stuff up to placate the drooling yeehaws that go to his safe space rallies. Speaking in the Rose Garden, President Trump, which that will never not sound weird. President Trump.
I can be more presidential than anybody.
Yeah, than anybody. Even the great Abe, Donny. He says he's going to declare a national emergency as a means to circumvent Congress and build an additional border barrier. He wants $6.5 billion more in funding than Congress has approved, which is about $8 billion in total. First it was he needed $4 billion, and then it was $5 billion, and then it was $6 billion, and now it's $8 billion. He's gonna build a wall.
I'm building a wall. Okay, I'm building a wall. I'm building a wall. Okay, I'm building a wall.
And how on earth would you get through a wall? Well, I bet Donald Trump, the expert, knows.
If there's a concrete wall in front of you, go through it, go over it, go around it, but get to the other side of that wall.
Yeah, how about go under it would be a good idea. Of course, he's the only person that sees an emergency at the border because no such thing exists. There is no emergency at the border. I mean, it was just a thing that he threw out at his demented safe space rallies to get the drooling yeehaws in Make America White Again hats to cheer him, which seems to be the only thing that he cares about. Being cheered. I bet he didn't bother consummating the marriage with his latest wife. She just gave him a cheer, marked him 10 out of 10, and he went to bed satisfied. What do you think of that, Melania?
I don't care.
Even Trump's Republican allies have called a national emergency ill-advised. By which they mean stupid. Ill-advised. They think you're an idiot, Donny.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
And Democrats are promising to take him to court. Immediate action aimed at blocking it is what they said. And he's going to face a variety of legal challenges on this and every other issue under the sun. Can we just get to the point where we build a wall around him? $8 billion, just so that Donny can brag to his fans that he won. And I bet this, I don't know who this shooter is, this latest one. Well, every hour of every day in America, somebody gets shot. And this latest one, if he is, or she, sexist, is Mexican, then he'll be, say, there you are, you see, we need to build a wall. And if he's white, then he probably won't even mention it. It will certainly be too early to talk about gun control. That's always the message. Every time a large number of people get shot by a white person, it's always too early to talk about gun control. But our prayers, our hopes and prayers are with the families. Right. $8 billion for some stupid wall that he promised just to get a cheer. It's a pantomime. He throws a thing out and they cheer back. Oh, yes, he does. And it won't stop the drugs because they come in by freight, in ports, or through legal crossing points in cars. And it won't stop people coming in because most of them come in legally and then overstay their visa. And besides which, more people are leaving to go in the opposite direction these days. Or they could just tunnel under if they were really desperate. And it won't stop crime, as you're much more likely to get killed in America by white supremacists than by immigrants. The higher the number of immigrants in a community, the lower the amount of crime. You're looking in the wrong direction, Donny. If you really cared about safety, you wouldn't spout the line from the gun lobby every time some white guy goes shooting up a school. It's just stunning what's going on in the world. I'm amazed. If aliens from space could see us now, they'd throw their spaceships into reverse and get the hell out of here. They'd say,
"What the hell is going on?"
If this is an experiment, it's gone badly wrong. Brighton. Hello, Sean.
Good evening, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good stuff. Just actually giggling away to myself there at that last little piece, and I was thinking it's a bit like Tim Martin becoming Prime Minister and pouring concrete down the Channel Tunnel to stop 5 immigrants a year from coming into the country. But that's not what actually...
That makes as much sense as anything else I've heard tonight.
I was just having a little laugh to myself there. All I was going to say is I read a little piece earlier about a book, Principia Mathematica, written by Bertrand Russell in 1900 and something, about 100 years ago. And basically it took a couple of very intelligent men, 362 pages writing about math logic to work out that 1 + 1 = 2, but verifiably. All I want to know is, why do you think people are so willing to form opinions based on no knowledge of anything when it takes people like that, that are willing to drill down and look into things at an in-depth level, that long to formulate something so simple that we rely on today? Why are people willing to comment on the European Union, on climate change, and spout opinions about it without any real knowledge at all about anything?
Well, I don't think this is necessarily new. I think people have always done that. Are you asking me why it's happening more these days, or are you suggesting that it's a new phenomenon?
I personally think it's because in the past everyone was dying too young because of diseases and wars over the last couple of thousand years, so no one had any time to realise how ignorant we actually are, whereas now we've got it well, it's all kind of come to the surface.
Well, that is an interesting point, yes. I mean, once you have sort of food security and you've got a roof over your head, then you can start thinking about other less important things because you've got a lot more time on your hands rather than going out hunting buffalo and building a shelter. Once that's done for you, then you start whining about my coffee's not warm enough and I don't like my muffin, all those important issues.
Well, yeah, exactly. But how do we get people to start listening to experts that warn us that the ice caps are melting and that leaving the EU wasn't a good idea? And how do you get people to start listening to that?
I think the thing that's happened lately is the internet, obviously. I mean, usually, before the internet, people that had sort of off-the-wall theories that generally didn't have the opportunity to discuss it with other like-minded people because they would never come across any of them. But now you can tap in any unhinged theory on the internet and you can come up with a whole cabal of people that agree with you who are scattered across the earth. You would never have met them ordinarily if it hadn't been for the internet. So I think that it's a reinforcing mechanism for unhinged theories because if you just walked into the pub and said that the earth is... by the way, did you know that the earth is flat? then people might have laughed at you. But if you say it on the internet, you'll have thousands of people who agree, oh, thank goodness somebody else is saying this.
So you think online kind of echo chambers are being allowed to move fringe movements into the mainstream is what's caused this surge in what I perceive to be ridiculous theories and ideas? Did you say it's the internet then?
Well, I'm not sure it's the mainstream. I think that they tend to shout loudly, and that can be confused for being the mainstream, and that also applies to the ultra right wing of the B issue, which I was trying to go through the whole show without mentioning, but I think I might have alluded to it once, but got away with it.
Sorry, I was using it purely as an example.
Yeah.
But you can't really do that without alluding to it. I do apologise.
Well, just don't do it again, that's all.
Promise. Have a good night. Cheers,
Thanks a lot, Sean. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, the internet is probably the greatest tool that has ever been invented for the dissemination of knowledge, but it's also the greatest tool for the dissemination of misinformation. As in, liar! The internet's lying to you. And of course, as you know, it's also been taken and used by not illegal, well, illegal, actually, by illegal actors, acting out with our best interests, trying to sway elections in their own, for their own means. And they've been very successful in that regard, trying to foment, my brain seems to have stopped. Trying to foment discord. That's exactly what I was going for.
Affirmative.
Discord they're fomenting. This tweet says, most of the kids had a day off due to Teacher Inset Day, as it is half-term next week. What's Inset Day? What does that mean? What does that mean?
I think it's like a teacher training day.
Inset?
Yeah. I can't remember what it stands for.
Oh, well, thank goodness that you showed up. Okay, so they're having an inset day. I had no idea. I don't think that has any relevance, does it? The kids wanted to go and march, and they went and marched. Who's going to stop them? Craig says, so many older people complaining about kids protesting. I was at a school near a coal mine watching the miners strike for better conditions. Why is this kind of strike okay, but kids protesting for their own better future isn't? 'Cause they're kids. Old people like to convince themselves that kids know nothing. I mean, they're children, they're like human beings, but smaller. And even though I know and you know that they're not just mindless ciphers, when they do come out with cogent arguments on the telly, as we've seen today, sometimes it can sort of sit you back a bit, thinking, blimey, that's a bit bright, alarming. Gerard says, do some flat earthers believe in flat warming? Stop with the material. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC.
Don't touch me, or I'll kill you.
I mean it. Carnforth. Hey up, Annie.
Hey up, Nick. How you doing?
I'm great, mate. How are you?
Not so bad, thanks. I was just thinking about, all these grumpy adults moaning about the kids getting out there. I was thinking, oh, good on you, kids. But the reason why they're all moaning and groaning is because really they know that the kids are right, and they don't want to think about it, and they don't want to be made to feel guilty.
Well, they don't want to be made to do anything about it, which is what this thing is ongoing in France.
Yeah.
Macron tried to do the right thing, slap a tax on fuel, and I think that their fuel is cheaper than ours. And they just went berserk, just at the very idea that they have to change their lifestyles in any way, shape or form.
I think actually, as far as that was concerned, it was a rather large hike, and France is, there's a lot of ruralness in France, and there are a lot of the people that live in the country in France are not well off, not like in this country where it tends to be the well-off people that live in the country.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. Well, it depends what you mean by the country. You're right, we don't have...
in the cities.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of the countryside, where I was born in Cheshire, it's all full of really wealthy people.
Well, there, yes.
Commute to Manchester.
Well,
but even around here, actually, where I live, from Carnforth really sort of through the AOMB that I live in, there's a lot of really wealthy people who come up here. And
well, have you seen Carnforth, Annie? It's a picture postcard delight. No wonder rich people are fighting each other to try and purchase a house there.
Well, it's much prettier actually outside the town. The town is nice, but it's very small, but it is very pretty in the area all around, and it's very near the Lake District, very near the Yorkshire Dales. So
there you go.
Lots of people come and retire up here. So, I mean, I think it's just a bit different in France.
Okay, but see this is the problem. I mean, people in France aren't living in a tin hut. They aren't having to walk up rubbish tips to see if they can't find some piece of food that someone has thrown away. It's not like that. And I've been in places that are like that, and I've seen actual, real poverty. And that's not what's happening in France. They were just a little bit upset that they were going to have a little less money in order to save the planet. This is why nothing is ever going to get done, because nobody wants to actually do anything. They want something to be done. They just don't want them to change their lives in any way.
No, I know what you mean. I do think it was rather a large, 25% was rather a large amount, and maybe they should be providing more public transport to take.
Well, impossible in the scenario that you've just described. I mean, if you're living out in the country, then what public transport can be available to you? But the thing with taxes is they aren't going to change your behaviour if you just increase it by a little amount.
I actually think there's other things that you could most definitely do that would be much more useful than slapping taxes on things. I mean, people changing their own habits, like all this pointless flying about.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
I know.
People will not change their own habits because we've got used to having, as mad as it sounds, we've got used to having a new phone every year, despite the fact that the one we've got is perfectly good and will last for years and years. We want a new car every 3 years. I mean, how mad's that?
It's completely mad. And also the other thing that takes up a huge amount of energy to produce and ship around the world is fashion.
Absolutely. It's the worst. Outside of oil, it's probably the most polluting business on earth, fashion.
Yeah, it's terrible. And nowadays, especially younger people, actually, they don't want to wear things more than once or twice. They buy cheap stuff and then chuck it out after they've worn it once or twice.
And a lot of them, I mean, there isn't a growing understanding that that's the case. But I think that a lot of the kids on that march, I mean, if I'm going to criticise them in any way, is that they probably are guilty in large numbers of doing exactly that, of subscribing to fast fashion, buying cheap stuff that you don't even have to wash, just chuck it out and buy another one. Really, it's the cotton, I think, has more chemicals on it than any other crop. It's pretty much the worst thing you can wear, and yet that's pretty much the only thing that we wear. Just disposable cotton. The whole world's gone mad.
It has gone mad. It's not good for you either. I mean, I myself buy organic cotton, but I don't throw it out. I keep it for years and years. I've had some of my clothes for some stuff in my cupboard that are 30 years old, and I don't care about fashion. I just wear things if I like them. I mean, often I won't buy anything for ages because there's nothing I like that's in fashion.
Well, look at me. I'm a disgrace, Annie.
Why, what you're wearing?
Dedicated follower of fashion? Not really.
You're still wearing your flares?
Flares? No, I can remember I vividly remember the day I stopped wearing flares, probably about 1976. And I got my first pair of drain pipes, having worn flares for my entire youth. And people don't understand what flares were like, particularly jeans flares with that heavy material. When it got wet, it was a nightmare, flapping down the road like a ship with at sail. It was just awful. And the feeling of freedom when I finally put on a pair of drain pipes, it was like, was like taking the shackles off. I couldn't believe it. So I'm never going back there again.
Oh, me neither. No, flares, just awful. No, they were, and they used to wear them really long as well. Do you remember loons as well? And they used to be worn really, really long, right down to, past your shoes. So
what did we look like? The 1970s fashion for everything, apart from art in all its various forms, which was a golden period in the 1970s, music and the concrete arts and films and all of the rest of it. Fantastic. Much better than now, but the way that people looked was just shocking. I mean, what were we thinking of?
I don't know. Those awful curly perms and platform shoes, dreadful.
Shirts with collars so big you could land a plane on them.
It's truly awful. Yeah, no, I do remember all
and
that.
And shoes. Ian Jury said it best. Shoes like dead pigs' noses.
Rock and roll.
That's exactly what they used to look like.
Yeah, they were truly terrible. I must say, I never wore platform shoes, ever.
Oh, I did. Black and brown ones.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Awful. I've never worn high heels, actually, ever. Heels of any sort. I've only ever worn flat shoes, so... Yeah.
Oh, I used to clomp down the road like I had concrete strapped to my feet.
I don't know how you managed to walk in them.
No, me either.
Oh, yeah. Now, and the other thing people could do... as far as the planet's concerned, is either stop eating meat or eat a lot less of it, and yet nobody will. Well, not nobody. Actually, that's not true, because lots of people are becoming vegan.
Vegans, yeah.
I've been so surprised. My younger carers that are coming into me at the moment, so many of them, they're either veggie or they've got friends that are vegan. It's amazing. I'm really quite...
Well, let's see how long they stick it out, because
yeah.
I was I ate fish, but mostly I was a vegetarian for 20 years. And then I saw the light, and I'll never go back. But, I do try to put in a couple of vegetarian meals a week, because it's probably not great to, eat meat of any sort.
Well, I mean, when we were sort of, cave people or whatever, I don't think we got much meat, did we?
Yeah, because it kept running away
now and again. Yeah.
I mean,
so
we would be chasing it, and it'd be off and in the distance.
Yeah, it would just be sort of nuts and fruit and berries and stuff.
Yeah, muesli again.
Yeah. Oh no! With just an occasional bit of meat, whereas people can eat meat 3 times a day now. It's just madness. And the quality of it is really bad as well.
Well, is it?
It can't be very good for you unless you're eating organic.
Well, yeah, I do eat orgasmic.
Oh, well, that's good.
Orgasmic chicken. I mean, I wouldn't touch anything else.
No, definitely not. I mean, not just for your health, but also for animal welfare.
Well, that's the reason why I choose.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the reason that I choose organic, is because up until the point at which they are executed, they're probably having a better life than if they were being factory farmed. But that's just me, and almost nobody else. The market for organic food is tiny, and you know that that's true if you go into a mainstream supermarket and look for organic. I mean, there's hardly anything there. Look for organic eggs, I double dare you. If they stock them at all, there'll be a very, very small line. Most of it will be what they call free range, which doesn't really mean anything as far as I'm aware. I think free range means there's a little door about 1.5 miles away in their shed that they could go out if they could reach that door, but they can't because they're stuffed in so much.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's actually true, but I think but that's my understanding of what free range means.
I don't think it's quite what we would think of. I don't think it's
well, it's not. Yeah, it's not
where they're all running about
exactly.
in fields.
Yeah, that's the picture that they put on the egg box, but that ain't necessarily so.
No, not at all, I don't think.
They'll put a picture of some smiling model who's pretending to be a farmer, and the implication being it's like, oh God, what was that TV programme with David Jason?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't watched telly for years.
Oh, yeah, you don't watch TV. Well, anyway, it's not some aged farmer who's going around his yard throwing seeds from a big bowl to a few chickens that are following him about. It's not like that at all.
No, I don't think so. And I think even a lot of the meat that's supposed to be more welfare friendly, like Red Tractor and Freedom Foods, a lot of them are not what they're cracked up to be. There's been quite a bit in the press about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That it's not as animal, welfare friendly.
Yeah, just go organic, or just don't eat meat at all, and stop buying clothing. Spend a bit more and buy something good, and then just make it last for years and years and years.
Well, I do actually. I bought a pair of handmade sandals, and that will last me for the rest of my life now. I had some handmade boots that I had made, it must have been about 25 years ago, and I've still got them.
If somebody made me a pair of handmade sandals, it would last me for the rest of my life as well, because I wouldn't wear them.
Oh, these are fantastic, these sandals. They're great.
Just as long as you don't wear them with socks, Annie. Please tell me you're not wearing them with socks. Of course not. Of course not. Why would I even think that? Listen, I've got to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 12:30. The news headlines with Zora Solomon.
The family of a 19-year-old from London who...
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. Will Guyatt, LBC's tech correspondent, says INSET is in-service training. That's what Will Guyatt says. But as he is an expert in possession of facts, I've decided not to believe a word he says. Alan says the moon landing was definitely faked. Wallace and Gromit never really went there. It was all done in a Bristol film studio. And weirdly, as you say that, I really got a hankering after a nice bit of cheese. Here, have you got any cheese?
Not with me.
God, talk about unprepared. You're rubbish at this job. Uxbridge, hello, Dave.
Hi, Nick.
Dave.
All right. Lovely stuff to you. Bournemouth made my ears prick up. Oh, dear. And I had to call in. I had to go and do a wedding in Swanage, which is very near Bournemouth.
You had to do a wedding? What does that mean?
Oh, yeah, sort of like a photograph it,
Oh, yes.
People like their pictures and everything like that. So I travelled from Windsor over to Bournemouth to stay the night, because it's obviously quite a long way. And I booked a hotel, and I thought, I remember Bournemouth, beautiful beaches, squirrels in the park and everything like that. And, well, my memories were absolutely obliterated. I got there into this hotel, and I was driving around this roundabout area, and all these hotels were there. And I parked in the car park when I finally found it, and there was no car parking spaces. So badly, I had to park so close up to a hedge to another car. I had to actually get out of the sunroof. I'm not joking. Out the sunroof, climb over my car. And then I went into the hotel lobby, and I was met by a young hippie. And he went, well, have a look for your keys. I was like, what? And he came back about 5 minutes later, and he found the keys to my room. No one showed me. I just went up and found it. Wasn't good when I found it, but it gets worse.
Does the tail get longer?
Well, it can do. It can go on for the.
But what you're saying is that Bournemouth is a lovely place. You just don't want to stay there, right?
That was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least you don't want to stay in that particular hotel. Well, thanks for the warning. If only we knew which hotel it was he was talking about, we could be able to avoid it. Okay, thanks a lot, Dave. 0345 6060 973. This text says, thought the protesting kids were wonderful for being so engaged at such a young age. Good on them. If they just wanted a day off school, I'm sure they could have found several things considerably more interesting and exciting to do than protest with placards and chant slogans. But they persevered and did what they were in Parliament Square to do, which is a sort of an update. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. They did what they were there to do. They did it. Anne says, where I live in North Wales... Well, where? Prestatyn? She says, where I live in North Wales, we're having the seawalls raised and other flood protection put in place because sea levels are rising now, today. Floods are a reality, as are prolonged droughts, which affect farmers' productivity. We live in a moderate climate, so don't get the worst effects of climate change. I think we should listen to the youngsters and think of their futures. And and that's you and you alone, Anne. Everybody else thought...
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Yeah, stop whining, kids. What's the future got to do with you? I knew what the comments were going to be like on the Daily Mail website before I went to look at them, and I was completely correct in every respect. And it was all, blooming kids today. They need a damn good thrashing. It was just like that, over and over and over. Every single message was pretty much along those lines. What are they whining about? Stuff like that. They want to go in the army. This text says, do you remember there used to be an advert for a certain sweet where there was a polar bear standing on top of a little bit of ice? There's pictures of real polar bears actually having to do it for real now because of global warming. Yeah, they're standing on sweets. Did you know that ice floes are actually made of glacier mints? That's a fact. That is true. And this text says, a child off school without permission costs a £60 fine. How much will be reaped in after yesterday? Oh, no end of money. Are you kidding? Rich we are. Enfield. Hello, Jackie.
Oh, hello. How
Jackie,
are you?
I'm great, mate.
That's good. That's good. I was going to take you back to the 76 where we did those bell bottoms. And,
bell-bottom blues.
Yeah, for me, it was camouflage. It was great for me because I could wear these bell-bottoms, these really wide, long ones, and wear my my clunky shoes underneath. That was 6 inches, the platform ones, 6 inches. So I was really tall, and it was great for me. The year after, when it was the drain pipes, it was like, where could I hide my high shoes now? I have to wear the pumps. Had to wear those flat shoes, so I used to walk down the road thinking I can't be seen because I'm so short now after those, taking those...
Yeah, it's like you're invisible.
Yeah. It took me a while to get used to being short again.
No, but seriously, this just to go back on this is a really serious point. And those kids that were on that march today, because this is directly... this affects you, and your actions affect all of us. Because it's not... people of advanced years who are going out and buying fast fashion, because after a certain period of time, you just don't care anymore, do you, Jackie?
No, don't care now.
I mean, I go out the house with my breakfast down my front. I just don't care about anything anymore.
Let's not overdo it.
So it's young people. You young people are actually ruining the world. Cotton is one of, if not the most polluting crop that there is. I don't think any other crop gets more chemicals sprayed on it than cotton. It's a catastrophe. It's an environmental catastrophe, and more so this constant churn of fashion. And what is fashion? It's a business, an incredibly wasteful business, justifying itself. It's telling you that the thing that you just bought, that they told you would complete your life, is now something that you must be unsatisfied with. You haven't even got it out the bag yet, and they're telling you that you look daft in it and you've got to go buy something else now. That it's completely insane, and it's got to stop. Are you listening to me, Jackie?
I am listening to you, yes. You do, like you say, though, you get to a certain age where, you dress comfortably.
Yeah.
And not with fashion, although you want to look the best you can.
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, if the best that you could look was the way I look, Jackie, then making an effort is not even worth it. Why bother?
You haven't seen the way I look.
Well, that's true.
Don't ask my friends or family.
Okay, then.
They'll tell you the truth.
Pop us a picture in the post.
By the way, have we not mentioned the B word today?
No. I think I've only mentioned it as the B word a couple of times in passing, but I think I got away with it. It might come up tomorrow. Who knows?
Yeah. Probably next week.
Well,
there'll be more news to bring up.
And every week for the rest of our lives. in some form or other.
You know what I'm hoping for? I'm hoping that the day before, Theresa May will say, "Ha ha, fooled you all. We're staying in," and that's the end of that.
Yeah, April the 1st will be a good day for that. There's something to look forward to. All right, thanks. Yeah, see? All right, thanks a lot, Jackie. 0345 6060 973. Maybe it was all just a dream. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe we all took the red pill instead of the blue one. Is this real life, or am I hallucinating? This text says, this is a true story. Our RE teacher through secondary school was a Flat Earth Society member. Oh, blimey. The easiest way to get out of religious education was to put up your hand and ask him what shape he thought the world was, and watching him try to deny all the facts. Best school days ever. Huh. A religious education instructor had antediluvian thoughts. What a shocker. James says, what was the closest you came to protesting as a nipper? Or was it all grand when you were a lad? You bet it was. Protesting. Well, I didn't do much protesting. I think as far as I went was to wear badges on my school uniform. Oh, and transgress the rules by the colour of my socks. I mean, of course, the socks should be the same colour as your trousers. Any fool know that. But not if you were a rebel. All sorts of luminous teddy boy colours they used to go around in. And this says, lots of people are texting in to say that the David Jason programme was the Darling Buds of May. Correctamundo. Yeah, even if it says free range on the box, it ain't like the Darling Buds of May. It's not some idyll where a farmer is being followed around the farmyard by a bunch of chooks. That ain't what's happening. They're giant sheds the size of 5 football pitches, and right at the end there's a door, and those chooks can get out if they can make it that far. But as they're up to their chicken knees in chicken poop, they probably can't. Now, I don't know that that's a fact, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Let me remind you about my podcast. It comes out on a weekly basis, and I think you'll find it a delight. Not educational, but it is amusing. And this week, it's got cats in it. It's got our fighting forces, who are a little bit too wide of the hip to actually do any fighting these days. A little bit. And what else? Oh, it's got the guy who fell asleep while he was on hold to talk to me on this show, and my desperate attempts to try to wake him up. I like to put some of my favourite calls to this show at the end of my podcasts. You will find it on the Global Player app. Have you got the Global Player app? Oh, you want to stick that up your phone. You'll love it. If you are on Apple, then the podcasts are on there. I think at the moment, if you're not on Apple, then they're not, although they're working on that. So you can find my podcast wherever they give away good podcasts, which are with many and various places. Look for it by name, the Nick Abbot Habit.
Coming up at 1 on LBC, Matt Stanley.
Come on, we're running late.
Here's a call in Stoke-on-Trent. Hello, Liz.
Oh, hello, Nick. It's nice to hear you again.
Liz.
Hope you're well.
I am, thanks.
Hi there. I've got 4 little points because I can't stay on long because I'm in the middle of a stir fry. But
wait a minute, a stir fry?
Yeah.
It's a bit late for that, isn't it?
I know. I was reading and I lost time.
Reading? Not a book, I hope.
Yes, and in fact, Nick, I hope this isn't taking me time off my points, but just let me tell you that this book that I'm reading,
yes,
and another one, I am going to jot down on a piece of paper and send them to you.
Oh no!
The titles. No, when you read them, when you see them, you will read them because you will be more informed on your programme. if you can be more informed.
No, I'm not interested in learning anything. I've learnt a sufficient amount to be carrying on with.
No, sweetie, these will blow your mind. The first book I'll put down.
Sweetie.
All you need to do
Yes.
is read the introduction, even if you don't.
Oh, can I just look at the cover and assume that I know what's inside based on the cover?
No, you will never assume what's inside, because the introduction will tell you everything. You don't even need to read the rest of the book, and you can get it from the library.
Okay, then.
Okay, right. What I'm going to say, just these little points, are really in reaction to one or two of your other contributors.
Yeah.
One person said...
now, you're about to pick fights with people who call this show.
Well, I just want to point out that...
It sounds like a yes.
And one gentleman was quite aggressive, really, and he said that the children were a cult and they were presuming wisdom more than adults.
Yeah.
Well, they were.
That's right.
I heard an interview. I heard an interview yesterday of a quite a young child, and I couldn't believe my ears. They had more sense in their little finger than all the politicians that are on in our government at the moment, and that's not exaggerating.
Yeah.
So
And I can remember being a child, and can you imagine where that little finger has been? Ugh. Doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
Oh, there goes me alarm for me to do that. Right. Right.
Wait a minute. You got an alarm on your stir fry?
Yes. Now, people were complaining about the children being out of school.
Yeah.
Well, what about all the times that they close the schools down for our voting days? Right. Why
wait a
can't
minute. Wait, hang on. They don't close school for voting days, do they?
Yes.
No.
Yes, they do.
Or on the other hand, no, they don't.
They do. They do. They're closed down.
What?
And so why can't they use church halls, etc.?
I thought that because wait a minute. They don't close schools just so that we can not go and vote.
Yes, they do. They do, Nick. Honestly, Duck.
Duck.
Yeah, they do. They do. Right.
Okay,
that's
then.
Too.
Yes.
And then somebody complained about the children being there on the streets on their own, and could be open to danger.
Yeah.
Well, there were adults there. Some of the teachers went along with them, and some sympathetic parents went with them.
That was just somebody who didn't want to see, who didn't want to be presented with the truth. And the truth is that we can't handle the truth. The truth is that unless we change our lives, then what we understand of the world, all of the systems that we have in place, it's all going to come crashing down. Unless you don't believe in science, in which case your ignorance will protect you.
Well, this is what made me call, because they infuriated me a little bit. So I thought, no, I'm going to have my little bit now.
Yeah.
And then the fourth point, there's always they're always criticising children for one thing or another, drug taking or disrespectful or whatever. But when they do something as sensible as this, they're still criticised. They just don't get a chance. That's my fourth point. Now, can I just also say about organic fruit and
what? You have
veg?
A fifth point?
Well, no, this is just for you, this is, Nick, because you said that organic is difficult to find. A few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they were, but now they are quite widely available.
Well,
in
no,
most
I know they are,
supermarkets.
but the shelf space that a supermarket gives to those products indicates how popular they are. And I think it's about, I don't think it's breached 5%. Even in a shop like a top person's supermarket, Waitrose, even there, it's not got much shelf space. And I think it's about 5% of Waitrose's sales. And they really push organic like mad. So in more mainstream supermarkets, it's practically nothing at all.
Yes, they do have only one choice of per item, like one sort of carrots and potatoes, and but they are available.
I know they're available, but people don't buy them in any great number. That's true.
Well, I think they will start to. I mean, I used to want to. I couldn't afford to a few years ago, but now I'm in a bit better position.
Yeah, but the problem with that, of course, is that organic takes up more land, and we need more intensive farming to feed all of the people that people keep giving birth. How does that happen?
I wonder, Nick. Anyway,
somebody should
nice
look
to
into
speak
that.
to you.
All
Yeah,
right, thanks.
yeah.
Hey,
Nice to
what's
speak-
in the stir fry, Liz?
Oh, loads of veg and just lots of, just a bag of veg all cut up.
Ugh.
Nice.
Like I
Very
said.
healthy.
That's what I meant. I came
Didn't
out
smell it
early.
from there.
So yummy. Well, you better get to it, Liz. It'll wilt.
Okay, take
All right,
care.
cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. A stir fry at 1 in the morning. I've never heard the like. Brussels. Michael.
Hello, good evening.
Michael.
Nice to talk to you. I'm not going to call you ducks or...
Oh, well, thank goodness for that.
At least you was more cheerful than some of the other calls you had on tonight.
Than you, for instance.
Yeah, it was great having you on over the New Year and Christmas. The trouble is we're an hour in front here in Brussels, so I couldn't get to bed before 2 o'clock.
Really?
So I got hung over the week after, yeah. The tickets to Bournemouth, £49 and £57, something like that, so I just looked it up.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? Why so much?
Well, they do have special offers every now and again.
Well, I've
Anyway,
never
that's
seen
not
one.
what-
I've never
that's not
seen
what I
one.
wanted to
It's
talk about.
£100 for two people to go to Bournemouth and back from
it's
from
two
London.
people, that's each, isn't it? I mean...
Yeah. Well, it's £100. Whereas if you go to Brighton, which isn't that much nearer, it's like £15. Why is it so expensive to go to Bournemouth? I don't understand.
Well, it's only... Yeah, but it's only to... Brighton's only 45 minutes as well.
Yeah, but if I go to Eastbourne, it's almost the same distance. I mean, Bournemouth is just up the coast from Eastbourne, isn't it? It's not that much further away. And yet the price is about a third to go to Eastbourne as it is to go to Bournemouth. Why is it so blooming expensive to go to Bournemouth? Is it that they're trying to keep riffraff like me away? It is,
Well,
isn't
you're going
it?
in the wrong direction, that's what it is, because there's lots of commuters, apparently, travelling every day from Bournemouth, because they have special fast trains that go to Winchester, I think. And
What, they're commuting to Winchester? What's in Winchester?
No. They go. No, I think that's the first stop from Bournemouth. It goes
I
straight
see.
to Winchester or
Right.
Southampton on its way up to Waterloo and just stops at Woking. And I think you can get season tickets in the other direction. But I agree with you. It's quite expensive just to get
Well,
down.
one day I'm saving up my money. One day I'll get there, Michael. That's my dream.
I've got one of those senior rail cars now, so I'll pay a third less than you.
Oh well, there's something to look forward to. How old do you have to be to get one of them?
Over 60.
Oh,
so you haven't got far to go.
Well, I may never live that long. You know what, with global warming and all, and you know who in the you know what.
I'll bring us into war.
I bet he will.
Oh, no.
I bet he will. Yeah, Michael,
Do you know
whatever it was that you were calling to talk to me about, unfortunately we've run out of time. But, you know,
No,
that's...
it was about the 70s fashions, that was all, and
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of other things.
Okay.
Loom pants and things like that.
Right.
I remember them.
Well, then you'll have to leave us with like a vivid mental image of you in loon pants.
Well, I don't think I am, really. Okay, nice to talk to you.
All right, cheers, Michael. Now, if my podcast is still available, let me remind you about that. It's called The Nick Abbott Habit. Ask for it by name. If you stick around, I think you'll find that Steve Allen will set you straight at 5 o'clock. I'll be back at 10 this evening. Whatever happens between now and then, it just fairly blows my mind, just contemplating it. What will it be? Well, we'll find out when we get there, eh? Until then...
Bye-bye.
And here's Matt Stadlen.
Nick, I've got another question for you before you go.
Only if I can ask you a question.
You may.
What's your question?
The production team are all giggling. My question for you, Nick, is it too late to save the planet?
Well, the planet will be all right. It's our position on the planet that is at risk.
Is it too late for us to save our position on the planet?
Quite possibly.
Nick, see you tomorrow.
Well, wait a minute. I haven't asked you my question yet.
Oh, I thought your question was, what's your question?
No, it is, what's 2/5 of 70?
Stop it.
Oh, I'm sorry. You failed this
I know
test.
what it is. I know what it is. It's 28. Nick, have you gone?